Have you had problems setting up a wireless router? I know many people who have. So let's take a look at one. This is a Linksys WRT54GL, typical Linksys router. Linksys was acquired by Cisco not long ago, but most people still call it a Linksys router. Let's turn it around and take a look at the back side, and we'll see about setting it up. The 4 Ethernet ports that are together on the right side are for wired PCs. The antennas are of course what you use for the wireless PCs. The single Ethernet port on the left is the Internet port. This connects to your cable or DSL modem. Or you can connect this to your existing router if you have one to provide additional wired ports in addition to the wireless ports. In addition to the extra wired ports, this allows you to position the wireless router where you can get a good wireless connection. However, some problems can occur if you connect it to an existing router, and we'll take a look at how to solve this. The wireless router that I'm using for this demonstration is a Cisco Linksys WRT54GL. Cisco acquired Linksys some time back, but I'll still call it Linksys. As far as I know, all the Linksys routers, when you first turn them on, default to an IP address. And that IP address is what you enter in the browser up in the URL address line to connect to the router to configure it. So I'll do that. http:// and the default IP address that the routers assume is 192.168.1.1. Then I'll press the enter key to bring up the router configuration page. By default, the router's configuration settings are secured, and the default password is admin, all lowercase, ADMIN. And then I'll click OK to bring up the page. Now notice here that you have a number of different options in configuring your router, and in this particular case I connected the router in to the other router that I have, which is not a wireless router, that is then connected to my DSL modem. Now I did this to demonstrate the problem that can occur, and so in this particular case I didn't have to do anything here as far as selecting any of these connection types. On the router that's directly connected to my DSL modem, I have to select PPOE and enter a user ID and password from my internet service provider. But in this particular case, the router is connecting to the other router, and no password is necessary. Let's take a look at the status. On this particular version of Linksys router, it's over here. Notice there's a clickable link that shows status. What I wanted to illustrate was the problem here. Notice that under the section here labeled Internet, this says that this router acquired its IP address through a process known as DHCP, and there's the IP address that it received. It has an address that in this case, if you were directly connected to the Internet, would be my Internet address, although it's not, so this is the address that it got from my other router. And then notice here that it says the gateway, not its address, but the gateway that it will send its data to is 192.168.1.1. Well, this is because my other router is a Linksys router also, taking the default address, and that's where the problems occur. I now have two devices on my network that both have the same IP address, and I can run into routing problems when that occurs. So let's see how we fix that. Although the description of this problem may be somewhat confusing, the solution is relatively simple. The problem is, as I said, is that the default address, IP address for this router was 192.168.1.1, and that's the address on the other router as well. So we have a conflict there, and when you try to send data from your PCs connected to the wireless network, the data will get lost. So our solution, as I said, involves just changing it so that the default address, or the 192.168.1.1 for this router, is a different address. In order to do that, we'll go to the setup for this router. I'll click the setup link, and on this page, under the network setup, the local IP address for this router, which, as I said, has defaulted to a 192.168.1.1 and conflicts with another router, we'll just change it. Now what I'd recommend is just making this a 2. That changes the network TCP IP address, and all the PCs in this network, or in other words, that connect to your wireless router, will have an IP address assigned to them in this group. And then when it routes it, it will go to the other router. So in order to do that, I'll scroll down here and I'll say Save Settings, and that will do that. Now I'll have to reconnect to this router after these settings occur, because I've changed the router's IP address, and it's what my PC connected to wirelessly, and it is now assumed a different IP address, and so I'll need to reconnect. Well, I've reconnected my PC now. When I reset the IP address of my wireless router, I had to reestablish my wireless connection because the router now has a new IP address. And in order to configure it, I'll have to use that new IP address, which I put in the configuration just a minute ago. It's 192.168.2.1. And of course, I still have to go through the login security associated with the router. The default password is still admin, ADMIN. Now notice when we take a look, the router has this new IP address, 192.168.2.1, and if you took a look at your IP configuration for your PC, you would notice that it would have acquired a new IP address when you reconnected as well. So now I'm all set, and I can connect to the internet wirelessly and reach all of the favorite sites. A couple other things that I'll do in future videos. If you're interested and like this video, let me know. I haven't reset the router's name. I didn't reset the router's system ID, and I didn't disable making that public. I also didn't set a security key on this router so that you have to have a secure connection. Right now anybody could connect to this router. So if you're interested, give me some feedback, let me know, and I'll make another video on